Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Nick. No, sorry. Hello, I'm Taylin Clavelli, and I am here with Sinfully Sexy Books to tell you a little bit about myself and give you a reading of Dakota Skies. I've got some bits and pieces here from Sinfully Sexy, and I'm going to read them out to you. But I will apologise in advance because I'm bound to cock something up and I will get tongue-tied. So here we go. It says here, "Hi Taylin, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and visit us at Sinfully today. It's great to have you here." Hi. Yes, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. As you can probably see, very nervous at this. So anyway, on with the first question. First of all, it says, could you tell us a little about Taylin the person and Taylin the writer? Do you find juggling the two separate personas a difficult task? Well, yes, especially to start with. Taylin the person is most happy in front of her computer, playing away at the keyboards, whereas Taylin the author is very much more out there and a bit more with it and a bit more social. I have to admit though, in recent months though, the two have begun to merge a little bit and the two are beginning to become one. The next question is, how did you discover the world of MM and what is it that inspires you to write in the genre? I discovered MM after I'd been reading a lot of MF stories, and they were very much boy meets girl, one's a sinner, one's a saint. And I was kind of getting bored. And then I found this story called Money Matters on the internet, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was all about embezzlers and corporate espionage, and it was absolutely fantastic by Seabatty. I hope I've said that right. I do apologise if I haven't. And it changed my whole world. The story itself, it was two male characters with a lead, and it was a case of, I thought, oh, I like reading this, and then read a little bit further, and then, oh, definitely like reading this. And that was where it all started. And after that, I don't think I've hardly read any male-female pairing since. And then a while later, I've been reviewing a few stories and that sort of thing. And I had this idea for a story, and I emailed Lily Velden and said, I've had this idea for a story. Would you be interested in writing it? And she said to me, why don't you write it? My first reaction was, what? And it's a case of, she said, don't worry, I'll pre-read it. And that was where it all started. So, which was interesting as well, because as you probably gathered, I like doing the odd accent. And so as I'm writing these stories, I tend to delve into the accent of the person who I'm writing. Sometimes it's big English, other times it's American, and coming out talking like that, you know. And just for you, Lily, here's a little bit of Australian for you. Just don't want you to feel left out. So, hello, mate. But back to British now. One of the other questions I was also asked was, you've chosen to write a Western. What made you decide to set it in Old West instead of going with contemporary cowboy theme? Well, to be honest, I didn't really even consider a contemporary theme, because ever since I was little, I have grown up with the Lone Ranger, Champion the Wonder Horse, the High Chaparral, Bonanza, and I just love those films and those TV series. And the latest one with Johnny Depp as the Lone Ranger, oh, I love that. I was on the edge of my seat in the cinema, um, and my daughter kind of almost disowned me a bit. Said, "Hey, mom," because I was there, da 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 da, and as you can see why she disowned me. Anyway, and I also love history, and that's been part of the fun of actually writing Dakota Skies. Researching the history of the Sioux, the Comanche, the Apache, looking into the weather patterns, the pictures of the towns of the time, everything, outfits, the whole lot. It was fantastic for me. I've enjoyed doing the research just as much as writing it. And as for my boys, well, they're my boys and I love them. So they're my babies, so I hope you like what I'm about to read to you in a minute. The fourth question was, can you tell us about any future projects that you might be bringing to us in the near future? Or is it that top secret? No, not top secret. Not finished, so I can't really tell you that much. But a few things I can tell you is I have submitted a story called Chimera Air to do an anthology, and that is a comedy. It's an airline completely staffed by gay people. I wrote it a long time ago, but after I wrote that first chapter, a friend of mine works for British Airways, and she took it to work to check it for technicalities and all of that, and she showed it to one or two of the other people there, and they said, we want another chapter. So I added to it, and then I've since submitted that. And I've also got Secret of the Manor, which is basically a ghost story. Modern day 21st century man ends up having an encounter in 16th century England. So combining the two, it's going to be fun. I'm about 3-4 chapters into that, and a friend of mine said, how are you going to deal with the sex angle? Somebody else shouted from across the room, ectoplasm. So just to how can I put it, appease them, I may have to put in a little bit of a funny in there somewhere, but how, I'm not quite sure yet. But we're almost at the point where I'm going to do the reading. I will read out what the ladies have sent me. It says, thanks Taylin, it's been a pleasure having you with us today, and would love to invite you back again. But before you leave, could we ask you to treat us to an excerpt from Dakota Skies? So it says, well, I'm not going to read what's the last part on there because it really ain't for public ears. Anyway, so on to Dakota Skies. By hopefully you'll have actually read some of the blurb that goes with it, but as you've seen, it's a Western set in 1875. In this particular scene, Jay, our sheriff, has entered the unorganised territories, and he's been singing to himself. Unknown to him, his voice carried on the wind. And in this particular scene, he set up camp for the night. So, like I said, I apologise in advance if I'm going to get tongue-tied. Are you sitting comfortably? Who's there? He barked into the dark. Jay wasn't happy at being denied sleep again. There was no answer, and the laughing abruptly stopped. All Jay could hear was the wind rustling the small leaves on the trees, and eventually sleep took him, albeit restlessly. Moving out in the morning, he followed the trail north. However, the farther he travelled, the more he couldn't shake the feeling he was being watched. That evening, Jay set up camp not far from water. It allowed him to replenish his canteen and take a dip. The stream ran deeper, wider, and faster than at any other place he'd seen. It was perfect for a bath and a rough shave. Dust, grease, and grime from the last few days scoured his skin. even though the water was bone-chillingly cold, and soap and tough scrubbing removed the filth. The freshness it brought made him feel much better. After drying off, Jay returned to camp with a spring in his step. The closer Jay got to his warming fire, the more he heard voices. Hiding behind a tall bush, Jay withdrew his gun and very, very slowly cocked it ready. Natives were going through his stuff. His breathing shallow, Jay raised his gun to take aim. At that moment, a weathered hand softly covered his mouth. Jay froze. The man's other hand carefully, silently lowered his gun. None of the movements were threatening, though Jay's heart was pumping so hard he thought it wanted out of his chest. "Don't," he whispered into his ear. "They're curious. They'll go soon." Jay nodded his compliance, but the stranger's hold on him did not falter. The arm that lowered his gun was around his waist, along with his gun. The man was ensuring Jay didn't move. His soft, quiet breathing ghosted over the side of Jay's face. Warmth from the strong stranger permeated every pore of Jay Carter's body like a sleep-inducing fog. Within minutes, the natives left, leaving almost no evidence of their visit, except for a missing sack of grain. The man continued to whisper, "They've been following you since you entered their land. They're Wichita, and they mean you no harm. If you shoot your gun, it'll alert every tribesman to your existence. Be careful, be quiet, don't do anything stupid, like sing." The sweet scent of honey wafted into Jay's nose. His body was invaded, not physically, but sensually. Jay had to close his eyes to steady himself. As if by magic, the stranger's hold on Jay was gone, leaving cold air in its wake. Instead of being relieved, Jay missed the heat from the man's body, his broad chest against his back, and the strong arms wrapped around him. It was comfortable, safe, and unnerving. Well, sorry if I cocked it up a bit too much, and I knew I'd get my tongue tied. And I've probably added in a couple of extra words there that probably shouldn't have been. But either way, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy my Boys in Dakota Skies. I'll see you all again soon, and thank you to Sinfully Sexy. This is Taylin Clavelli, signing off. Ciao, sayonara, and bye.